Hi, this is a video response to State of Daniel's further disingenuous nonsense, in particular his suggestion that religion and science are the same.
Hey YouTube, I hope all is going well. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's kind of funny that people try to pit science and God against each other.
Well, that usually only comes about when people of a religious bent are trying to argue for things which science has demonstrated are nonsensical or unsupportable. Beyond that, I think this is a bit of a straw man, quite frankly.
As though the two are mutually exclusive. I can't even begin to count and tell you guys the number of times that people have called me anti-science simply because I believe in God.
Well, I can't speak for anyone else, Daniel, but I call you anti-science because I saw your video about eugenics and what you call Darwinism, and the ridiculous idea that you put forward that the fact that eugenics is something which could stem from the knowledge gained from the study of evolution, somehow that would prove evolution wrong, leave it open to question, or mean that we shouldn't investigate or understand it.
But for me, my deep respect for science and for scientists and all the things that they do actually reaffirms my faith that God exists. And in fact, science and the scientific method are very religious in nature. You see, science categorizes objective knowledge in order to explain or describe the phenomena of the reality around us. But this is only possible if, number one, you believe in the objective existence of natural laws, number two, believe in the unity of these laws in the spatial-temporal continuum, and we can observe these through laboratory experiments. And three, believe in the rational character of these laws that allows you to similarly study and understand them through rational means.
Okay, so here is the first deceitful, slippery semantic trick. He slipped in the word believe at the start of each of those laws without any sort of comment or qualification. The point, of course, is that science does not base belief on faith or guesswork. It bases it upon the best information and the best observations available, and Daniel here is seeking to juxtapose that type of belief with religious belief, which is simply not reasonable.
So here, science is a form of religious thought because you have to accept these three tenets in order to have a foundation of scientific knowledge.
And here is the meat of the trick he's pulling in this particular video. He immediately, without comment and with a pretty lousy attempt at sleight of hand, equates the sort of belief that a scientist has in the rules he applies to the work he is doing, which are based upon observation, testing, and a demonstrated understanding of how the world around him actually works, with the type of belief that is the foundation of a religious conviction. The absurdity of that assertion is immediately apparent when you consider that it would apply to any belief about anything whatsoever. The assertion also includes the slippery assumption that he's tried to slip by you by setting it up early in the video, that belief is the fundamental and foundational tenet of religion. Of course, that simply isn't the case. Religion is a good deal more than that. Simple belief doesn't make you religious. What makes you religious is belief in a supernatural deity, and probably the following of rituals and guidance laid down as to how one worships or behaves as a result of having that belief.
And here's where I think science proves the existence of a higher being, because, like I said, to believe in science, you have to believe in the existence of objective natural laws.
No, you don't. You have to have a reasonable expectation that those natural laws will apply in all or virtually all circumstances as a result of having tested and observed them over a prolonged and detailed study. Science, Daniel, is not the laying down of the laws, it is the observing of how the universe works, and the laws are descriptions rather than missives sent down from some higher plane telling you how things must be. These are observations of how things actually are, described in the best way we as humans can set them out in the form of laws.
And as we all know, whether it's the government or a teacher in the classroom, laws and rules are always enforced by a higher authority.
Well, that may well be true in respect of laws made by humans for application in our society. And that is why it is important to recognise, consider and factor into your arguments the huge, significant and frankly bloody obvious disparity between those types of laws and the types of laws with which you are now trying to compare them, which are scientific laws which in reality have the character of descriptions of the world around us and observations and tests rather than being laws in the form of missives sent from an authority.
A unified, self-sufficient law system in the universe only exists because we have an intelligent, omniscient, and omnipresent legislator behind it. And for me, that's the God of the Bible. So in this sense, I think religion and science go hand in hand. And even more so, the scientific method relies on faith. Now let me explain, because apparently this is a controversial statement that has caused an uproar in the past.
It's not controversial, Daniel, it's just bollocks. And what you're doing here is another semantic trick, beloved, of the religious. The trick involves purposely confusing definitions of the word faith. There are two definitions. The first is to have a reasonable trust in something. I have faith in a footballer to score a goal because I've seen him 100 times before and he's in a very good position and he's a reliable player, and therefore I have faith that he is going to do that because my reasonable expectations are that he will do that. Occasionally I'll be wrong. The other type of faith is the faith which applies to religion. That is faith which comes as a result of believing in something without good evidence. They are completely different concepts in character. They are totally separate ideas carried by the same word, and you are using that fact to dishonestly steer people through your fallacious, silly, childish, disingenuous argument.
By itself, science cannot inherently explain or provide an objective description of what exactly it's trying to examine. When you use the scientific method, you're utilizing a speculative model hypothesis.
Well, that's part of the process, but an even more fundamental part is the observations and tests which precede that.
Because it's based on primordial presuppositions, aka faith.
And who'd have guessed it, another deceitful semantic trick. Gracefully hidden behind the veil of his silk magician's handkerchiefs, he moves swiftly from taking the suppositions upon which science is based, those based on observation, through to primordial suppositions, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, into those suppositions mounting to faith.
For example, the Darwinian model is based completely on the speculative principles of gradualism and progress.
No, it's based on investigation, analysis and consideration of frankly enormous amounts of evidence, from the DNA record to the fossil record to observation to investigation of all manner of species to considering physiology and all manner of other evidential bases.
Faith in the accuracy and correctness of those speculative presuppositions results in the faith being transferred to the correctness of the model itself. So yes, science relies on faith because even if you use evidence, those facts are distorted and tainted by your worldview.
Well, I'm not sure where that one came from. That seems to be a different argument altogether. The point, though, Daniel, is that scientists are at pains not to be tainted by their worldview. They develop procedures and approaches to experimentation which are designed to be as neutral as they can possibly be. Can scientists guarantee that they're never tainted by these things? No, they can't. But here's the thing. They recognise that, and they are looking out for it. They know that such a taint is damaging to the work and to the results that they will get, as opposed to theists who think that the worldview that taints their approach to the evidence and the analysis they undertake should and must actually override that analysis as and when the two things clash. And that takes us back to the nonsense you started with about putting science against religion, doesn't it? Now, Daniel, I'm going to make a suggestion here. I don't think you're a stupid individual. I don't think you're an ignorant individual. You have clearly read, you have clearly thought, you are articulate, you're erudite, you present well, you've clearly been educated. You live in a nation where there is freedom to find things out, to discuss things. You have access to the internet, which is the greatest single resource of information that this planet has ever known, and is changing the world rapidly. In those circumstances, I have great difficulty believing that somebody who has deployed so many obvious and disingenuous semantic tricks as you have done in this video is doing so unwittingly. I put it to you, Daniel, that in fact you're doing it quite knowingly, intentionally, to carry people along with your argument and to back up your argument, and that you are doing this dishonestly. Now, don't get me wrong, you may be doing this with the best of intentions. You may be doing this as a result of the presuppositions and the religious faith and beliefs that you have, and you may well feel that it is reasonable. It may even be subconscious, that you simply need to support your beliefs and put them out there, and that the best way to do it is with these tricks. But that doesn't make your behaviour any less deplorable, and it is exactly why you are not and don't appear to understand science or scientists. It seems that you are entirely unable to disengage your presuppositions and faith-based beliefs from your analysis or your process of considering arguments, issues, and evidence or information. And somewhere deep down, I put it to you, Daniel, you know that that is what you are doing. And I ask you to think about it very seriously and very carefully, because my understanding of what your faith and what your belief system is all about is such that you ought not to be seeking to deceive people, even if you think it's in a good cause.